You know that feeling? When you're listening to English speakers and they're chatting away and it just feels like, wow, like they're speaking a totally different language
Oh,
sometimes.
absolutely. It's such a common hurdle, isn't it?
Totally. So today we're diving deep into exactly that.
Hmm.
And our guides for this are Jennifer and Daniel from the Englishly podcast. You can find them over on the Speak English with Class YouTube channel.
Right. They had a really great discussion on this.
Yeah, so think of this as like your personal cheat sheet to their conversation. We're going to pull out the most powerful, um, actionable insights to help you become a more confident, more effective English listener.
Exactly. Whether you're prepping for a meeting or just trying to understand your favorite TV show without subtitles.
Or, actually connect with native speakers in a real conversation.
This is for you. Jennifer and Daniel really offered a wealth of practical wisdom.
And what's key, like you said, is understanding that becoming a better listener, well, it isn't just passive, is it?
Not at all. It's really about actively engaging and using smart strategies. It takes effort.
Okay, so let's get straight into it then.
Yeah.
Jennifer and Daniel made this really fundamental point early on
Yeah.
that listening isn't just a part of learning English.
Yeah.
It's it's the absolute foundation.
It really is. They compared it to how babies learn, didn't they?
Exactly. They listen first. For ages, actually, before they even try to speak.
Mm-hmm. It's like that listening phase primes the brain for everything else that follows speaking, reading,
That
writing.
makes so much sense. So the listening part is like the primary input, the fuel for the whole language system.
Precisely. Think about it. The better you listen, the more vocabulary you just sort of absorb naturally. You pick up sentence structures.
Even pronunciation, just by hearing how people actually talk.
Exactly. It's the bedrock. Everything else is built on top of that strong listening foundation.
And it's not just about formal learning, is it?
Mm.
I mean, think about your day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
You're in meetings trying to follow what colleagues are saying,
Mm.
or chatting with friends, catching up.
Or listening to podcasts like this one. Or the news.
It's constant. So improving your listening isn't just some, abstract language exercise.
No, it directly boosts your ability to navigate the world, basically, to function effectively day to day.
Understanding instructions, building rapport with people, just staying informed.
It all hinges on how well you can process spoken English. It's about connection.
Okay, now they also really zeroed in on something that causes a lot of stress for learners.
Ah, yes. Understanding native speakers.
That's the one, the speed, right? And the slang that seems to pop out of nowhere.
And the idioms, things that make absolutely no literal sense. It can feel really overwhelming.
Yeah, discouraging even. You feel like you're making progress, and you hear a fast conversation and think, I understand nothing.
Mm-hmm. And Jennifer and Daniel pointed out that this gap between, let's say, textbook English and real-world English, well, consistent exposure is the bridge.
So just listening a lot helps you get used to it.
Essentially, yes. Your brain starts to unconsciously pick up the patterns, the rhythm, the common phrases. You get better at guessing meaning from context, even for slang you haven't heard before.
It's like pattern recognition training for your ears.
Kind of, yeah. And this leads perfectly into a really crucial distinction they made.
Which was?
The difference between just hearing English passively and actively listening to it, Daniel explained this really well.
Right, because it's easy to just let the sound wash over you, isn't it?
Hmm.
Especially if it's fast or difficult.
Exactly. But active listening is, well, it's work. It's deliberate. You're focusing your attention, trying to anticipate, trying to really grasp the meaning, not just the sounds.
Mhm. And trying to remember it, too.
Yes, that's key. Jennifer talked about learning Spanish, didn't she? How she realized she had to consciously train herself to listen actively.
Yeah, it wasn't enough just to be in Spain. She had to engage her brain.
Precisely. The sounds hitting your ears isn't enough. Your brain needs to be actively decoding and processing.
Because it's so easy to drift off, let your mind wander. But making that intentional effort to focus,
Mm-hmm.
that's where the real learning happens.
Mm-hmm. And the payoff, as they highlighted, is huge in real life. You understand things more accurately, you respond better.
You build better relationships because people feel heard.
Exactly. Your comprehension just generally skyrockets. It shifts understanding from being reactive to proactive. You're participating, not just spectating.
Okay, so let's talk specifics. Jennifer mentioned some common roadblocks learners hit. Accents and speed were big ones, unsurprisingly.
Definitely major hurdles. You've got British, English, American, Australian, Canadian, Indian, South African. I mean, the list goes on. And then regional accents within those.
It can feel like learning multiple languages sometimes.
And the speed. Native speakers often connect words, drop sounds. It's efficient for them, but really challenging for learners initially.
Totally. And then the fun stuff. Slang and idioms. Jennifer used that classic example.
Raining cats and dogs.
Yeah. If you're trying to picture that literally,
Yeah.
you're going to be very confused.
Huh. Exactly. Idioms add so much color, but they're opaque if you don't know them. It shows you need to learn chunks of language, common phrases, not just single words.
And understand their figurative meaning in context.
Right. And one more really practical challenge they mentioned.
Background noise.
Yes, trying to have a conversation in a busy cafe or on a train platform. It adds another layer of difficulty,
Your brain has to work even harder to filter out the relevant sounds.
which is a skill in itself, developed through practice in those less than ideal environments.
Okay, but it's not all doom and gloom. They offered some fantastic, really practical tips. This is the good stuff.
Absolutely actionable advice.
One key thing was starting with slower, clearer audio. Makes
Yeah.
sense, right?
Definitely. They suggested things like podcasts or audiobooks specifically designed for learners, or even some YouTube channels that pace things a bit more deliberately.
It builds that foundational auditory processing. You get used to the sounds in a less stressful way, which prepares you for faster speech later. Then there was the subtitle strategy. Jennifer suggested starting with English subtitles,
As a visual aid to connect sound and text.
and then, crucially, gradually trying to watch without them as you get better.
Yes, that weaning off process is key. You need to eventually rely on your ears alone. Subtitles are great scaffolding, but not the final building.
And I love this simple one. Just re-watch stuff.
Yeah, repetition is so powerful. You almost always catch things the second or third time around that you completely missed initially.
Your brain gets another chance to process it, maybe pick up a new word or understand a connection.
Exactly. And Jennifer also had a great tip for when you feel overwhelmed by speed.
Focus on the keywords.
Right. Don't panic if you miss small words like a or the or prepositions. Try to catch the main nouns, verbs, adjectives.
The core message carriers.
Often that's enough to get the gist, to understand the main idea, even if some details are fuzzy. It's a really practical coping mechanism.
Okay, what about actual resources? Where can you find good listening practice? Daniel was a big advocate for podcasts for learners.
Yeah, he really highlighted their accessibility. You can listen anywhere, commuting, doing chores.
And they let you immerse yourself in the language quite easily.
Plus, they're often designed to be engaging, which helps keep you motivated.
Audiobooks were another good one. Following a story that provides context, doesn't it?
Huge advantage. Context makes comprehension so much easier, and the narration is usually very clear.
They suggested starting with beginner-level books and working your way up.
Makes sense. Gradual progression.
And, of course, TV shows and movies. Great resources, too.
Definitely. The advice there was similar. Maybe start with shows known for clearer dialogue, perhaps kids' shows or sitcoms initially.
And then move to more complex stuff. Again, maybe using subtitles at first if needed.
Right. Find something you genuinely enjoy watching that makes the work feel less like work.
They also covered some really neat interactive exercises, things you can actively do. One was shadowing,
Yes, the shadowing technique.
where you listen and then immediately repeat what you hear, trying to mimic the speaker. Daniel mentioned trying it himself.
It's powerful. It hits listening, pronunciation, rhythm, intonation, all at once.
Sounds intense, though.
It can be a bit, yeah. But they stressed perfection isn't the goal, especially at first. It's the act of trying to replicate the sounds and flow that helps.
Okay. Then there was dictation.
Right. Listening to short clips, pausing, and writing down exactly what you heard.
That sounds like a really good way to train your ear for detail. Like, did they say ship or sheet?
Exactly. It forces you to pay close attention to individual sounds, word endings, contractions. Great for accuracy.
And it helps with spelling and writing, too, I guess.
Double benefit.
Yeah.
And the last exercise was simple but effective. Summarizing.
Just listening to something and then explaining the main idea in your own words.
Yep. It's a fantastic comprehension check. If you can summarize it accurately, you probably understood it well.
Makes sense. It forces you to process and synthesize the information.
Precisely.
Okay, moving on. Accents. Jennifer and Daniel definitely tackled this common challenge. British, American, Australian, all the variations.
It can feel like starting over sometimes when you encounter a new accent, can it?
Totally. But their main message was exposure, exposure, exposure.
Absolutely crucial. The more varied accents you listen to, the more flexible your brain becomes at understanding English in general.
It starts to recognize the underlying patterns, even if the surface sounds are a bit different.
Exactly. And they really stressed patience here. Don't get discouraged.
Familiarity just builds over time.
hmm And they suggested actively seeking out variety. Watch interviews with people from different places. Listen to international news.
Be intentional about exposing yourself to different sounds.
It broadens your listening database, so to speak.
Now, here's a connection they emphasize that's so important. The link between listening and speaking.
Ah, yes. The two are deeply intertwined. They feed each other.
How so?
Well, the better you listen, the more vocabulary and sentence structures you absorb, which naturally improves your speaking. You get a better feel for pronunciation and rhythm, too.
And when you speak, you become more aware of sounds, which maybe helps your listening.
Exactly. Speaking forces you to actively use the language, which can highlight gaps in your understanding or pronunciation, prompting you to listen more carefully next time. It's a virtuous cycle.
So they recommended actual conversational practice, talking with language partners, tutors.
Focusing on both skills together. But even if you don't have someone to talk to regularly,
I had that other suggestion, mimicking speakers from movies or TV.
yeah, it might feel a bit silly at first, they admit it.
I can imagine.
But physically trying to imitate the sounds, the intonation, the flow, it actually trains your mouth muscles and reinforces the auditory patterns in your brain.
Like a physical way of learning the sounds.
Kind of, yeah. It can be surprisingly effective.
Now, throughout the whole discussion, a recurring theme was patience and consistency.
So important. They really wanted to reassure listeners. Improving listening takes time.
It's not an overnight thing. Results aren't immediate.
And feeling frustrated sometimes. That's completely normal. Everyone goes through it.
Don't give up just because it feels hard sometimes.
Exactly. And they also said to celebrate the small wins.
Ah, I like that. Noticing when you understand a word you didn't know before.
Or finally getting the meaning of a phrase you've heard a bunch of times.
Or understanding a little bit more of a song lyric.
Those little moments of progress, they matter. They keep you motivated. Acknowledge them.
Right. Okay, finally, they talked about real-life listening, the ultimate challenge.
The deep end. But also the most rewarding, potentially.
They emphasized needing to really focus in those situations and being ready to respond quickly.
And crucially, not being afraid to ask for help.
Like saying, sorry, could you repeat that? Or what does that word mean?
Absolutely. That's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of being an active, engaged communicator. It's a vital skill.
Don't just nod and pretend you understood.
Please don't. It's better to clarify. And their overall advice was to gently push yourself.
Step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. Actively seek out those real-world challenges, even if they feel intimidating. Listen to podcasts not aimed at learners. Try the radio, strike up casual conversations when you can.
Because that's where the real growth happens. Dealing with authentic, unscripted English.
That immersion, even in small doses, accelerates your progress significantly.
And just before they wrapped up, they had Charlotte do a quick vocabulary spotlight.
Ah, yeah, highlighting some key terms from their chat.
Things like context, key points, build on, get the gist.
Step out of your comfort zone, celebrate small wins, pick up.
Yeah, understanding those kinds of terms helps you understand discussions about language learning itself, doesn't it?
Definitely. It reinforces the concepts and gives you the language to talk about your own learning journey.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together. Our deep dive into Jennifer and Daniel's excellent English Lead podcast. What are the main takeaways?
Well, number one, listening isn't passive. It's active. You need to engage your brain.
Right, and there are loads of practical techniques. You can use subtitles strategically, rewatching, focusing on keywords, shadowing, dictation.
Don't forget the resources, learner podcasts, audiobooks, TV shows. Use them consistently.
Ah, yes, consistency. That's maybe the biggest thing, alongside patience.
Absolutely. It's a journey, not a quick fix. Keep at it. Celebrate those small wins.
And don't be afraid of real-world listening or asking for clarification.
That's the essence of it, really.
Great stuff. And again, that wisdom comes from Jennifer and Daniel over the English Leap podcast on the Speak English with Class YouTube channel. Well worth checking out.
Definitely.
So here's a final thought for you, the listener, to take away from our deep dive today. Think about the next time you listen to some English. Could be anything, a song, a news bulletin, maybe even just overhearing a conversation. Consciously try to apply just one technique we talked about. Maybe really zeroes in on the keywords. Or perhaps try shadowing just one sentence out loud.
Just pick one small thing.
Exactly. And afterwards, just take a second, think.
Yeah.
Did focusing like that change how much you understood? Even a little bit.
Because becoming a better listener, Well, it really does open up whole new worlds, doesn't it? New connections, deeper
Yes, it
understanding.
unlocks so much more of the English language. Give it a try.